What's up, everybody? I'm Rob the Hammer Hammerschmidt, and we have a special broadcast for our normal interview. It's not going to be our normal run, pass, or kick. We're going to do something similar that I've done with some other guests. And in this case, I'll talk just a moment with this gentleman, our guest for today. I'll introduce him, but I want to first throw a shout out to a couple of our special sponsors and partners with the Rugby Rant. One of those would be Rugby Coffee. They do a great job at not only brewing terrific coffee. They have two great brews. They have Jouet Jouet, and they have Crowd Favorite. Both sold here in North America. They are available right now on order. When you order, you get them fast. You get them when you want it. And not only that, you can also help support youth rugby. So go out and get yourself some Rugby Coffee. Their values are like our values. They want to grow rugby one player at a time. We want to grow rugby one fan at a time. I also want to throw a shout out to a special partner of ours, and that's a Chicago partner here in Mundelein, Illinois, and that would be Tighthead Brewing. Tighthead Brewing does a great job, tremendous micro brews. They span the palette in terms of types of brews, from ambers to dark brews to light brews. You'll love it, and they also support rugby as well. They support the Lake County Rugby Club, so they do a great job. And now I'm going to introduce our very special guest that I'm sharing an afternoon with here at Quigley's Irish Pub in downtown Naperville, also a supporter of rugby. This is none other than Joey Backe. Joey Backe, from drafted, I think it's number 9 with the Utah Warriors, right? A WMU product. We'll talk about those pieces. So first of all, Joey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. It's my pleasure to have young guys who are developing in the league join the show because they are the lifeblood, not only of American rugby, but the MLR. So as we get started today, I just want to run through the gamut with Joey. Just talk about how we got to start. And I have a little bit of interesting information on that, or at least backstory. But also, his transition from being a young rugby player all the way up to now being a draftee and a guy that the Utah Warriors are looking to include in their as a featured player in their lineup for years to come. So we're going to get started with Joey and talk a little bit about his experiences. And I want to first start right here in Naperville and talk a little bit about how you got your start. Talk about, or tell fans who don't know, how did you get started playing rugby? What got you into it?
So what really got me into it, so I started playing for the Naperville Crusaders, which is the middle school program around the area. But where I found out about rugby was at this sports camp called Loris Sports Camp in Iowa. And we had to try 3 new sports that we'd never played before. And my buddy said, hey, let's try rugby. My brothers play. I think you'll like it. Went out there and they handed me the ball and they said, run it. And I said, you're going to let me run it? Because I was an offensive lineman. I never got to touch the ball in football. So as soon as they said, run it, go, I was hooked. Came home, found that club, and I've been playing ever since. Played throughout high school. And I've been very fortunate to have a big rugby community in the area, and all the talent in the world is over here with all state teams. I've traveled to South Africa with the Illinois Tornadoes, and that's where I played with Andrew Guerra, who's from Mount Carmel, which is just up the road from me. So I met a lot of good faces, had a lot of great coaches. Couldn't be happier.
Awesome. And I want to talk a bit about that. You mentioned the Naperville Crusaders, and that's where I met Joey when he was just a wee lad. Talk about your experiences with not only that, but you played at Neuqua Valley, and they're a powerhouse here in Illinois at the high school level. Who were some of your greatest influences as a player when you were coming through the Naperville Crusaders and on into the Neuqua Valley Rugby Club?
That's a list too long to share, but obviously I played with all the Chevaliers, so all the Chevys, huge rugby family. Will is tearing it up at IU right now. I played with Nick both in high school and at Western when he transferred. Sam Norgard, Wes Jackson, Zane Jackson, both of Coach Jackson's sons. It's just a huge rugby community, but my favorite is my little brother. He pushes me every single day. He's a freshman in high school right now, starting on varsity, which I couldn't even do.
What position are you playing?
He's a 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a little different cry from where you come from.
He's the opposite of me. Skinny, fast. I think it's because I was using him as a tackling dummy before he could walk, and he found out, well, I'm not going to be bigger than this guy. I might as well be faster than him. So he can just run circles around me.
Yeah, so it was almost, you had to try by fire, if you will. You had to, you had to get fast or he was going to get killed, one of the two. So awesome. How you talked about the Chevaliers, you talked about Jackson's, Graham Jackson, all three Jackson boys' dad was a teammate of mine here at the Chicago Blaze. You had a great experience playing with that core group of players coming through the Neuqua Wildcats Rugby Club. You guys won the state championship. Pick out a memory or an experience from that year that really has stuck with you and something that you kind of go back to, as you think upon your rugby up to this point.
Yeah, I have this picture that I hang in my room no matter where I go, and it's us holding up that state championship trophy because I think there was a number. We had lost 9 state championships before I got there, and my freshman year, we lost the fresh soft state championship. Sophomore year, we won it. Junior year, we lost by 2 points in the last 2 minutes on varsity. And then senior year, we finally won it. And I just remember at halftime, we were up 2 points. And I was just going off on all the guys, saying, we got to stick together. This is what matters. This is what counts. And by the end of the game, I looked up, and the final score was 63-24.
Wow.
And that image is burned into my head. And all the friends, when I go home, that's all we talk about is that state championship, how much that meant to all of us. And I think I was one of the few guys that actually went on to keep playing rugby in college.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of those guys just focused on their studies. So it's nice to kind of make it to where I am today as the first Neuqua kid drafted who's in the MLR. Yeah. And to show those kids who are coming through the program now that you can do it.
That's possible, yeah. Absolutely. Well, I know Zane Jackson, the youngest of the 3 Jackson brothers, is I think down there with the Huns. Is that right? Yeah. So he's on a scholarship. Played a lot of sevens with them. Was in the national tournament. So obviously some great rugby, great pedigrees coming out, and it sounds like it's going to continue with your brother. So that's good to hear. So let's transition now. You mentioned that you played at Western Michigan, and again, I might just tear up during the broadcast because so much of your experience I have a connection to, not just as a coach or and you as a young player playing for the Crusaders, but now my younger son is going to Western Michigan, so there's that connection. Yeah, he's not a rugby player. That's okay. He plays lacrosse. We won't hold it against him.
We'll change it after year 1.
Chase him around the park too. We'd use a little pace. At any rate, talk about what appealed to you. Like Western Michigan is. I mean, no disrespect, because I'll get into that a bit later. But when you think of rugby powerhouses, you think of the Lifes, you think of the Cals, you think of the Lindenwoods, the Ark States, the St. Mary's, right? At least in the Midwest, some of those schools. Why Western Michigan? What appealed to you as you started thinking about that as the college path?
So my parents were always big on school, big on being a well-rounded person. So I graduated high school with a 4.2 GPA, 32 ACT.
Wow. And
I knew I was going to do engineering. I knew I wanted to go into engineering, and I got into Purdue. And I was getting offers from Davenport, Lindenwood, Bellevue. I looked at Cal because they're a great engineering school. It all came down to just money. And I knew I couldn't afford Cal. I knew Lindenwood, Davenport, they didn't have my major. So I was going to go to Purdue. And when I went to South Africa, I met some guys there that ended up going to Western. They reached out to the coach, and they said, hey, bring this kid in for a visit. I stepped on campus, fell in love. Luckily got a full academic scholarship there. So that took care of the money issue, and they had a great rugby program, and they had a great engineering program. So that made it a really easy choice, and I knew I was going to go there.
I think that's important for a lot of young players that are in high school right now looking to go on to the next level, is that, there are a lot of options out there, and many of those options you need to, yes, the rugby piece is something we all want to pursue. We all want to be a professional athlete, right? And it may or may not happen, but what's important is the academics, right? And you got to pick an institution. I always tell this as a teacher to my students. You got to pick a place you're going to go to if the sports dry up for whatever reason. Are you going to be happy there, academically and socially? And it sounds like it was a perfect fit for you.
Oh, it was more than perfect. Like, I went in and they were a pretty good team, but we always talked about leaving it in a better place than you found it.
Yes.
One of the coaches there, he always talked about being a warrior, and it's kind of funny that it came full circle.
Ironic, isn't it? Yeah.
That now I'm a Utah Warrior.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that idea, and maybe it's because it's something that a mantra that I practice and preach with my kids. Leave something better than when you came into it, right? And for me, it's been as a coach, I want kids that come into a program to lead better men than when I got them. Win, lose, or draw, I don't care about that. The number one goal is to leave better men, when they exit. And it sounds like, that idea of leaving a program better, that's definitely something that happened for you guys. Just this year, we were fortunate enough to at least get a national sevens tournament put on by NCR down there in New Orleans. And I remember watching, because I follow LU obviously, but I was watching Western Michigan. And oh boy, you guys have come a long way since you stepped foot on campus. Talk about that experience of being a guy, a cornerstone for a team that left a mark on that tournament, because you guys had a hell of a tournament.
Yeah, well, it had been brewing for some time.
Yeah.
I came in as a freshman, and the seniors had already preached excellence. You're no better than the rest of the team. They don't care where you played in high school. You just show up and you put in the work. And I think the first year we made it to the tournament for nationals, and then we lost pretty early. And then the second year we made it to the Sevens D1 AA national championship game. We lost that one. And then my junior year fall, we made it to the 15s national championship. Lost that one. So by the time it was senior year, we had already expected, hey, we're not going to win the MAC or just win games. We're going to win a national championship. Yeah. And, we fell short of that goal. So hopefully I left it to where those boys are going to take care of business.
Yeah. Well, again, two things. I'm hearing a reoccurring theme, right? You come into a program and, just get to that pinnacle, right? You just get to that pinnacle and then finally you bust through. I would say, okay, so maybe you guys didn't win the national tournament, but going from Division 2, right, onto that big stage and playing with the Lifes and the Lindenwoods and the Davenports. And, that's a huge jump. You guys really made a lot of people kind of look at Western Michigan in a different way. What were some of the keys as a leader, obviously, in the team? What were some of the things that, aside from being a warrior, that you really tried to, that motivated guys to come to training 2 or 3 days a week, right? Because it's kind of hard when guys aren't getting money from the university to come to the school for rugby. It's kind of hard sometimes. What did you do?
That's exactly what motivated us. Is we knew we were going up against scholarship programs that had strength coaches, that had nutritionists, that had all the money, as far as rugby money goes, thrown at them. And that's what drove us. We used to say rent's due because we pay to play. It wasn't even free. We had a great coach, Coach Mark Allen, and he funded a lot of the team. But we still had dues we had to pay. We still had to buy our own cleats, and we would show up and we'd want to knock off those teams that they got scholarships to play. And that's those coaches, and we were doing it for each other, and those coaches who gave up so much time and money to us that we didn't want to lose for them. It was bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, and those are some really blue-collar values that you guys had, right? Like, you're not. It's not about you. It's about somebody else. That you recognize that coach is sacrificing a lot of himself to put you guys in a good position, to give you guys the best opportunity to win, and the fact that you guys felt like you kind of carried around a chip on your shoulder, right? Hey, we're going to knock those guys off, and they're looking past us. We're going to make them remember who they play, right? And so those are some awesome values. I have a feeling Utah knew a little bit about what they were getting when they drafted you in the 2021 draft.
Hopefully. I mean, Brandon Sparks actually started Western's rugby program back in 1991.
He's a Michigan guy, isn't he?
He's from Western Michigan. He went there and he started our rugby program. So that's another thing that just came around full circle.
That's awesome. It's so interesting. I've had this conversation now. This is the second one I've had in person with a draftee this year. Karin Constantino was obviously on the show a couple weeks ago. And when he was talking to Fitz, Fitz is like, I'm a Wisconsin guy. And he's like, oh, really? So they had that connection. And now, the Western Michigan connection for you and Sparks is pretty cool. Let's kind of talk a little bit about Utah. Obviously drafted 9th. What a tremendous honor to field of, we had 36 draftees, 3 rounds. There were some serious names packed into that lot. Some guys who were really, Lapete, I think, is already on the national team. Is he not? He was drafted.
I don't know if he's on. Yeah, I knew he was drafted.
Yeah, he was drafted, and he played last weekend. He scored a try, I think, in the first game against Canada. He's going to Seattle. So, you're not talking about slouches here, my friend. You're in some serious. You're with some serious heavyweights. You yourself are a heavyweight yourself. I can see that already. If you haven't seen this guy, he's just friggin' packing on the muscle. But nevertheless, let's talk about Utah a little bit. You decided to go to the Rugby Showcase. So I want to hit that first. Talk about the Rugby Showcase. How important do you think that was to your experience in the draft process?
I thought it was a great idea when it was put on. It was all the way out on the East Coast. That was one of the hardest things, just for a lot of players who don't have money. Not everyone has a car to get there. Mm-hmm. So I drove there, slept in my car one night, and it was really well put together. Mm-hmm. They had some top-notch equipment, top-notch coaching out there, and it was just a lot of really good rugby players in one place. It was a hard day. We did a lot, but I thought I had coaches coming up to me that said, "Hey, we really liked seeing you throw because I'm switching to hooker now."
Yep.
So I threw as much as I could at that showcase where I don't have really a whole lot of film on me throwing in games.
You were I was going to ask you. You played number 8. So for those people who don't know, that's where he played. He was an absolute animal back there. If you've ever seen some tape, go back and look at it. It's pretty good. Now we know why his little brother was running away all the time. I want to elaborate a little bit on the showcase. We've talked on the show. We've talked about the showcase, and we've talked to the organizers of the showcase a little bit. We're hoping that the showcase gets expanded next year. Is there anything that you think would be nice as a player to see them add on or do differently to enhance it for guys like yourself that are coming into the draft and looking to be drafted next year?
I think one of the things that I would add would be maybe don't focus on the physical as much as just playing rugby. Mm-hmm. Focus more on the live action drills and the decision making, because someone who can run the fastest 40 may not. Does that transfer to rugby if you're a prop? When are you going to run 40 meters in a game? Maybe
it depends. If you're Lerone White, you'll intercept tries frequently in successive weeks and run them back. So
I played against him. He's fast. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
But I think they did really good for the first year of it. Yeah. But max benching 225. That's more of an NFL combine thing more than a rugby combine thing. And I think that was part of the pull to it, was they wanted it to kind of be like an NFL combine, because the draft, which I think I heard someone say this is the only rugby draft that happens. That's kind of like an American sports thing. So I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you talk about that. We've had that conversation all the time on the show that, some of the expats that come over here and watch rugby are going, why are you doing the draft? Why are you doing the draft? It's all American. You always got to Americanize things. Well, I think that's kind of the point, right? Is that, we've got to put our own brand of rugby on in America that works for us, and things like the draft, things that college kids are used to, kids that, young kids and high school kids see the draft, and it's such a marketable event. They see that as an opportunity. So I think it's a really good idea. And now we're seeing the showcase as an extension of what the NFL does with the combines. So would you recommend the showcase to anybody sleeping in your car, driving 18 hours, doing all those things to anybody that any young guy?
100% of the time. I recommend take any rugby opportunity you can get. If you have an opportunity to go to, I went to Florida this spring to play in a sevens tournament with a bunch of guys who weren't on my team just because they called me up the week of and said, hey, do you want to come play in this tournament? And I said, yes. I just jump on every single camp, every single opportunity you can take with rugby, and that's what's going to get you noticed. That's what's going to get your name out there. It's all about who you know. It's all about networking. And, that's just how it is in life in general.
Right. I mean, it's an interesting point. Like, the other side of that American piece is that, rugby community is a small community in the United States, right? Even though the United States is geographically huge, you talk to somebody in rugby, if they played long enough, they probably know somebody else that you know somewhere, or you played, somebody you played with along the line, and you're making those connections, right? So
anytime you're at the airport, you see someone in a rugby jersey or jacket, you go up and you talk to them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Awesome. So rugby showcase happened. What kind of conversations did you have with Utah prior to the draft, and did you know or have a feeling that they were going to draft you prior to draft day?
I'm obviously my biggest critic, so I went from being like, oh, I think I'll get drafted to I'm not going to get drafted at all, up until the second I got drafted.
Yeah.
I'd flown out. I had workouts with Utah. I talked to Brandon for a while. He was kind of playing mind games with me, like, we like you a lot. And I was talking to a lot of other teams as well. So I was just sitting there shaking, watching that draft live, and see my name called. He called me on the phone. And I was giving him some smack and just like, hey, you were messing with me. Why'd you have to do that? But I definitely think Utah fits me the best. I'm not a big city person.
Okay.
And, the mountains out there, the coaching, and just the area and the people, I think that it's the best fit for me.
I want to delve into that just a little bit. For those folks that haven't seen it, there's actually a video, I think, of Sparksy, because Utah Warriors put it up, actually calling you up. Have you seen it? Are you familiar with the video?
I know the video. I have not watched it because I do not want to relive that. I am sure I sounded really, really dumb.
Pittman's going to pull that bad boy out every once in a while when he's going to motivate you. He's going to throw it at you. Hey, check this out.
Oh, I'm sure. All the boys are. I had some teammates right now texting me about the interview I gave last night. They're already giving me some smack.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, your boys got to keep you humble, right?
Oh,
Can't let you get too far in the clouds, otherwise, you'll be on it. So, awesome. I want to delve into Utah a little bit more. We've hit upon it just a little bit, but you mentioned that you're making the transition. You were 8 in college. You played probably back row, a lot of back row from 8 to flank in high school, right?
I've been an 8 my whole life.
Okay, but now they want you to play hooker. How'd that conversation go? What kind of elements have come into that conversation that you've had with Utah in terms of making that transition from 8 to 5?
So I knew I was going to have to switch to hook back in 8th grade.
Really? That early?
Yeah, I had like U18s, U something, nationals coaches that were like, hey, we really like you as a player, but you're a little short for an 8. You're a little short. So I knew I was going to have to make that switch eventually, and then I went to high school, and I knew the game better than most people did at that age. So then they put me at 8.
Yeah.
Then I went to college, and they tried to make me not an 8. They moved me to flank my first game, and then they realized, okay, well, this kid's an 8. Moved me back to 8, So I think the conversation went as simple as you could go. Utah called me up and they said, hey, we really like you, but you're definitely not an 8 at the MLR level. If you want to be an international player, you have to be a hooker. And I said, okay, what do I have to do? They said, put on 40 pounds.
Oh, no problem. When did that conversation when did they throw that idea that, hey, you got to put on 40 pounds?
That happened, I think, year and a half, 2 years ago?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty recently. And that was just, no questions asked. I will do what these coaches say because they know what it takes to get to the next level. And it was not fun putting on that weight, but the feeling of getting drafted was worth it every second and actually getting that shot.
A motivator, huh?
Yeah.
So, we've talked before we started to roll with the cameras a little bit. Like, for those young guys who are out there that are thinking, okay, I have to put on a little weight, what was that like?
Eating 5 meals a day, even more sometimes. You never go more than 3 to 4 hours without eating.
Okay.
You eat as much as you can until you're sick, and then you eat more. Try to keep it as healthy as you can, or else you're going to put on bad weight instead of good weight, and just live in the gym pretty much. I was working out in the mornings, and I was going to class, and then I was going to practice. That's what I love to do. I love that part of training, whereas you put in the work behind the scenes where everyone else may be out partying or doing other things, taking time off. I thrive in that environment where you're just working and grinding.
And that's what it takes to be a professional, right? I mean, now in your training environment, Western Michigan, did you guys train 2-3 days a week? What was the schedule there?
So we would have actual practice twice a week,
okay,
which is not a lot for most college teams. And then we would do team captain running sessions and workout sessions. And then we had group chats where if I was working out or someone was working out, it's, hey, I'm going to the gym, come with.
Yeah.
Somebody else come with. We were holding each other accountable.
That's important at a school that's not at that's working to get up to that, grow in the ranks and get up closer to those D1A schools like Life, where you have a national, 3-time national champions and 15s. You have to have that element, right, where you push each other because the coach isn't always there to do it, right? So I think there's a lesson to be learned there that you have to put in the work, and I'll be interested to check back in with you to see how that transition from that college experience to professional experience is, because it sounds like you're ready to take that step. You love to train, you love to be a part of the work, you love to put in, to be disciplined and to put in that extra effort and to do the extras necessary to get yourself better. So we'll check back in with you about that piece. I want to move forward. You're working a little bit right now. You're engineering, so you're working full time. You're obviously getting some training in when you can. Have you played any rugby this summer? What have you done this summer, or what are your maybe transition that from what do you do? Have you done anything this summer? To what are you doing in the fall? What are the kind of plans with Utah?
So I didn't play with any set teams this summer.
Okay.
But a few times a week I'd get some of the old rugby boys out around here, some other coaches, and I had a rugby ball in my hand doing drills, 2-3 times a week at least, working out every single day. So I'm just excited to get down to Utah to where we are actually going to have full team practices and to get that rugby ball back in my hands.
Gotcha. And when do you? I don't know if you can reveal it. So if you can't, I get it. When do you suspect you're going to get down to Utah for the first time?
End of the month, hopefully.
End of September.
Yep.
Okay, so we're right at September 16th right now as we record. So it gives everybody an idea at home in about 2 weeks. You're going to start getting down there and getting stuck in the mix and getting rugby legs back in you. Have they told you a Bronco time?
They have not told me a Bronco time. They made me run a Bronco.
Okay.
They've already sent me, the workout schedules, what I'm doing each week, every single day. I've already met with the team nutritionist. I'm just trying to take advantage of all the people who are there. I'm sure I've talked Coach Pittman's ear off. I was texting him the other day, like, "Hey, I'm with USA," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry."
Kind of busy.
Yeah, but everyone's been really excited and really eager to help me, but I'm sure they'll get sick of me pretty quick.
That's okay. So I got to ask, is people who watch the show know I'm a Noah fan. Of course, I'm wearing a Utah Warriors shirt because in honor of Joey. But Utah is my favorite team in the West, right? So, which is kind of cool. So, who are you looking forward to pairing up with down there? I mean, who's a guy that you kind of I know Utah's looking at me, and I might be down in Utah, but I can't wait to play with
Sama.
Yeah.
Lolo. I mean, I guess I won't be on the field with him because we're both hookers, but I watched him actually when they told me I was going to be a hooker.
Yeah.
I was going to need to make that switch. I would watch his film to try and learn. Okay, how does he do it? Where is he at on the field? Where is he at on the breakdown? How does he throw the ball in? Just to see his work rate. And he was first team MLR for a reason. That guy puts in the work.
So you got pretty good shoes to follow.
Oh
yeah. And that guy was an absolute animal at the back of the mall, right? I mean, ball would come in, and he was gold, right? I mean, just scoring tries like chocolates coming out of the candy machine.
I think he had 5 in 3 games at one point. Man, I mean, I met him down there, and he's just the most humble person you'll ever meet. Really nice, kind of took me under his wing. I had the pre-draft workout, and he was giving me pointers and asking me how I did stuff instead of just forcing, oh, this is what you should do. Instead, he's asking me why I did things a certain way.
Interesting. So even getting you to think a little bit, develop your IQ, and not just about rugby, but about training and how you do things and what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's really interesting. Never thought about that. You talk about that environment. There's a strong Pacific Islander vibe down there, right? Did you notice that? I mean, part of the 4 stripes is the pillars of the team, and it's built around some of those Pacific Islander values, right? Family, community, etc. So, did you get that sense when you were down there? Is that something that you kind of felt when you were
I really got their values when I was down there. And I really noticed that everyone was just extremely nice, really talkative, and all those guys were ready to put in work as well. Like, rugby is what they do in Utah. I mean, they have a really strong high school game. They have a really good college game with BYU and Utah, and I think it's UVU. They have a lot of good colleges and a lot of great high school programs.
Absolutely. Well, I think they have I forgot the name of the school, but there's a coach down there who had 26 national championships down there at high school. It's pretty impressive.
Highland Rugby? I think it was Highland.
Yeah. They celebrated, I think in the semifinal, they had a big halftime celebration for Utah Rugby down there. It was pretty cool. If you get a chance to go back to the Rugby Network and watch the semifinal, they did a really nice job to celebrate, and I think it's something really special. So it's good to see. So let me move forward. I'm going to ask you a tough question. This is kind of one of those job interview questions a little bit, so maybe it'll kind of help you out for sometime in the future. What are the strengths of your game? And I want to follow it up with what do you want to work on?
So I'd say the strengths of my game. Number one is just my brain. I feel like I can kind of see where that ball's going and where the play's going quicker than most guys can. And honestly, that's what I want to work on too. Is what's your superpower? What are you best at? And that's what makes you a unique rugby player. That's what makes you as a rugby player. So I think if I can develop my game intelligence even more, then that's what's going to maybe set me apart from different players. Because I mean, I'm big, I'm strong, but there are other guys that are bigger and faster and stronger in the league. So that's not always going to get you to where you want to be.
Two things interest me about that. Number one, Carm Consolino, I had him on a couple of weeks ago. I talked about him going to Noah. He emphasized his that he felt strength in this game. And obviously, for you kids out there watching and starting to balls. The secret here is to do things that will help your rugby IQ. Obviously, playing is important. You played a long time. I think you started when you were in fifth grade. Is that right?
I think it was third grade.
Third grade? Okay. Obviously that's important. Are there other things you did to enhance your IQ?
Watch rugby. Watch rugby as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, everyone wanted to be an NFL player. I wanted to be an All Black. That's kind of not the dream anymore. You realize
that was a rough one when you're not born in New Zealand.
Yeah, and then you realize, oh, okay, well, I could be an Eagle.
Yeah.
So just watch rugby all night. I'd watch Australia, I'd watch the Eagles, I'd watch Sevens, Rugby League. I'd watch any kind of rugby I could get my hands on, just to try and learn the game.
Again, Carm said the same thing. So I think there's a factor here that young players should kind of clue in on if you're looking to enhance your rugby IQ. And it's interesting your response. The other piece that I noticed, it's very similar to the perfect job interview response. You don't exactly say you have a weakness, but you're going to enhance something that's already a superpower, right? So maybe when they make like one of those superhero MLR superheroes, you'll have like a bigger head than normal. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty big. I don't know if you can make it bigger.
Well, it's a good thing nobody has to wear a helmet, right? Okay, yeah. Moving forward, we've talked about guys that you've watched, especially in Utah, strengths, weaknesses. Let's talk a little bit about, you've been down to Utah. What most excites you about the location, about Utah itself as a destination?
I think it's just because out west, first off, is beautiful. Like I said, I'm not a city guy, so the mountains are going to fit me, all the outdoors activities. I just think kind of like the culture out there. Yeah. They were telling me stats that they had the most fans out of any team that would attend their games. So coming from a college program where we have 100, 200 people to going and playing in front of 4,000, that's going to be the most exciting part.
And they're doing things right down there, by the way, in attracting fans, selling out. I think they're building a new training facility, if I'm not mistaken, down there.
I have no idea.
I think they.
I've also heard of it.
They have plans for that. So there's a lot of good things happening down in Utah. Let's see. I'm gonna have to edit this part out. But okay. So I guess one last question as we start to close this out and let you go on your way today. And again, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I want to thank our partners, Tight Head Brewing Company, Can-I Brands, and I want to thank Rugby Coffee for all the support that they've given us. But I just want to give you an opportunity here as we exit to give a shout out. Is there people that you want to throw a shout out to? Is there something a charity perhaps, or something that is important near to your heart that you'd like to throw a shout out to and draw the recognition to?
Well, I have to shout out Naperville Crusaders, where I started rugby, Neuqua Valley, Wildcats, high school rugby, Western Michigan University.
Go Broncos!
Go Broncos! Make sure to watch those guys. And the company I'm working at right now, Altman Manufacturing, where they've let me take significant time off to pursue this rugby dream. And they'll let me come in late if I need to work out. I need to work out and have training at night. They'll let me leave early. So they've been extremely understanding of that.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. We need more companies like that. I mean, that's kind of how. When I was a player, and yes, it's the Wayback Machine. It's not just Throwback Thursday; it's Throwback Decade Day. You heard about New Zealand. That's how All Blacks were. I mean, they were amateur, and they had to have companies. Sean Fitzpatrick worked at Coca-Cola, and they would let him go on tour. So it's good to see companies are recognizing the value of having somebody like yourself in their ranks. Joey, thank you so much for joining me today. And helped me fly solo without my two partners, Scott Farrar and Ty. Moraga. And I appreciate it. I want to wish you all the best as you head down to Utah and get stuck in the training environment. And I wish you all the success as you head into 2022. I hope we see you on the pitch very shortly here in 2022. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I still got to earn that spot, though.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like all along the way you've understood what it takes to put your nose to the grindstone and get after it and achieve your goals, because you've done it every step of the way. So I wish you all the best. And I want to remind all our viewers out there, Monday we have our Run, Pass, or Kick interviews. This is a terrible light that you guys are catching off the window. I look like Two-Face from Batman. So Run, Pass, or Kick episodes, we go with our regular Rugby Rant broadcasts on Thursdays. So catch us. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're on Apple, and of course you can see us on Facebook. Find the Rugby Rant. We're out there. We're here to highlight the players in the league, guys like Joey, and to celebrate rugby and to grow rugby one fan at a time. Thank you so much for your time, fans, and pay attention to this guy, because I think he's going to be making some noise in the MLR very soon. So take care, and we'll see you guys at the next